Banks in the United Arab Emirates, China, and now Turkey are refusing to accept payments from Russia. The U.S. sanctions imposed in December 2023 were one of the most painful for the Russian economy. Then President Biden signed a decree allowing the U.S. Treasury Department to impose secondary sanctions on banks from third countries for assistance to under-sanctioned individuals and for providing supplies to the Russian military-industrial complex. Nabiullina, head of the Russian Central Bank, also acknowledged the problems with cross-border payments.
It is important that they have started to recognize that the sanctions pressure is the key factor here. Following that credits will not be available, she says in her reasoning that companies have good profits, but they are concentrated in a dozen sectors: oil, banks, metallurgy, chemicals, and those that work for export. Basically, the economy is operating at no profit, at a loss or with low margins. This means that there will be a slowdown in the economy.
In November 2023, the U.S. Department of Justice arrested 5 Russians on charges of illegally exporting dual-use goods to Russia. In August 2024, a Russian, Artur Petrov, was arrested in Cyprus for supplying U.S. microelectronics to the Federation through front companies. At Washington's request, Petrov was extradited to the United States. Recently, the United States Department of Justice reported a new arrest. Russian Denis Postovoy was detained on suspicion of violating export restrictions, money laundering, and illegal shipments of dual-use and military microelectronics to the Federation.
The exported microelectronics can be used in unmanned aerial vehicles through a web of companies that he owns or operates in Russia, Hong Kong, and elsewhere. Postovoy and individuals in his network purchased the microelectronics from US-based distributors and exported them to Russia without the required licenses from the US Department of Commerce, from the website of the US Department of Justice.
Despite Western sanctions pressure, the Kremlin still has shadow reserves that it can use to continue the war against Ukraine. The Moscow Times has said these funds could help Moscow if oil prices fall and there is no inflow of foreign currency to pay for imports. However, it is still unknown how liquid and, most importantly, how accessible these reserves are.
Most likely, the shadow reserves are the money of large exporting companies. In 2022, Russia received record raw materials revenues $591.5 billion and a record balance of payments surplus $227.4 billion, which decreased in 2023 but remained significant. Currency in such volumes has not entered either Russian accounts or the reserves of the sanctioned central bank. The amount of foreign currency accumulated abroad is equal to half of Russia's federal budget, comparable to the entire gold reserve of the central bank and almost twice as large as its own foreign currency reserves. From the Moscow Times.
Experts are sure that the Western sanctions, shortage of personnel, spending huge amounts of money to continue the war against Ukraine in 2025 will lead the Russian economy to a serious crisis.
I think that if Putin decides to continue the current path and squeeze everything from the economy, the situation will keep getting worse. That's my prediction. There are more and more talks that 2025 will be very interesting. All kinds of dead ends of resource opportunities for Putin are coming.
The Kremlin's aggressive policy hits not only the profits of large corporations, but also the wallet of ordinary Russians. Salaries in the Federation have increased, but mainly in the military-industrial complex. However, the additional payments are devalued due to the growing inflation. This can be illustrated by the food prices. According to the Federal State Statistics Service, in July 2024, compared to July 2023, the prices for chicken in Russia rose by more than 12%, chicken eggs by 38%, and bread by 15%. This data from Russian authorities is biased. Experts say the real price growth in the Federation is much higher. Reported by Anastasia Tarnavska, Larisa Petruk, UATV News.